At some point, you've probably done this without even thinking about it. You get paid, you open your banking app, and almost automatically you move a portion of that money into your savings account because that's what you've always been told is the responsible thing to do. It feels productive, it feels controlled, and in a way, it even gives you a small sense of progress, like you're getting closer to some kind of financial stability. But then something strange starts to happen over time. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and despite the fact that your savings account number is slowly increasing, your life doesn't really feel that different. You're still working the same job, still thinking about money the same way, still feeling like you're not quite where you thought you'd be by now. And if you're honest with yourself, there's this quiet question in the back of your mind that you don't really want to face. If I'm doing everything right, why am I still stuck? Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people never hear. Saving money, by itself, is not a strategy for building wealth. It's a strategy for preserving what you already have, and those are two completely different goals. The reason this is confusing is because saving feels like progress. You're not wasting money, you're not being reckless, you're doing what society tells you responsible people do. But what nobody explains is that saving operates in a very limited system, and that system has a ceiling. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how consistent you are, saving grows in a straight line. And straight line growth is simply too slow to create any meaningful change in your financial life. To really understand this, imagine someone who saves $500 every single month without fail. That's discipline, that's consistency, that's exactly what financial advice usually promotes. After a year, they have $6,000. After 5 years, they have 30,000, and after 10 years, they reach 60,000. Now pause for a second and really think about that number. Does $60,000 fundamentally change their life? Does it give them freedom or remove the need to work or create real options? For most people, the answer is no, because while the number looks decent, it hasn't grown in a way that actually transforms their situation. And this is where the first major problem appears. Saving is slow in a way that most people underestimate. It depends entirely on your ability to earn and restrict spending, which means it is always tied to your effort and your limitations. There is no leverage, no acceleration, no moment where things start to move faster on their own. But what makes this even more problematic is what happens in the background while you're saving. Inflation. Not in an obvious, dramatic way, but in a slow, constant erosion that most people barely notice. Every year, the purchasing power of your money decreases, which means that even though the number in your account is going up, what that money can actually buy is not increasing at the same rate. In practical terms, you could be saving consistently for years and still feel like you're not getting ahead, because in many ways you aren't. So now you're in a situation where your money is growing slowly, but also losing value at the same time, and yet this is still considered the safe approach. This is why relying only on saving creates the illusion of progress without delivering real results. Now, to be clear, saving is not useless, and this is where a lot of people misunderstand the argument. You absolutely need savings because they provide stability, they protect you from unexpected situations, and they give you a buffer. But a buffer is not a growth strategy. And the moment you start treating it like one, you limit your own potential without even realizing it. The real shift begins when you stop asking how much you can save and start asking what your money is actually doing for you. Because money, when used correctly, is not just something you store, it's something you deploy. And this is where investing fundamentally changes the game. At a basic level, investing simply means putting your money into something that has the ability to grow over time, whether that's stocks, index funds, businesses, or other assets. The key difference is that once the money is invested, It is no longer dependent on your daily effort to increase. Instead of you working for money, your money begins working for you. To see how powerful this difference is, imagine two people with the exact same income and the exact same level of discipline. One of them continues to save $500 every month, while the other invests that same amount consistently. At first, there's almost no visible difference, and this is where many people get discouraged, because investing doesn't feel immediately rewarding. But over time, something starts to change. Because of compounding, the invested money begins to generate returns, and then those returns begin to generate additional returns, creating a cycle that slowly accelerates. After 10 years, the difference is noticeable. After 20 years, it becomes significant. And after 30 years, it becomes almost impossible to ignore. Not because one person worked harder, but because one person used a system that allows money to grow exponentially instead of linearly. And this is the part that most people underestimate. Wealth is not built through intensity, it's built through time combined with the right mechanism. The earlier you start, even with small amounts, the more powerful this mechanism becomes. On the other hand, the longer you delay, the more you lose out on the exponential phase where most of the growth actually happens. This is why waiting until you have more money is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make, because time is far more valuable than the amount you start with. You don't need perfect timing, you don't need large capital, and you don't need complex strategies at the beginning. What you need is consistency and a system that allows your money to move instead of sit. Even a small portion of your income invested regularly can create a completely different trajectory over the long term. And this is where the mindset shift becomes critical. Instead of focusing only on cutting expenses and saving more, you begin to think in terms of allocation, growth, and long-term positioning. You start to see money not just as something to protect, but as something that can be used strategically. Saving keeps you safe, but investing is what moves you forward. And if your goal is not just stability, but actual financial progress, then relying on saving alone will never be enough. So the next time you get paid, instead of automatically moving money into savings without thinking, take a moment and ask a different question. What is this money going to do for me? Is it going to sit there and slowly lose value? Or is it going to be placed into something that has the potential to grow over time? Because that single shift in thinking is what separates people who stay in the same place from those who gradually build real wealth. And once you start looking at money this way, you begin to realize that the goal was never just to save more. The goal was always to make your money work. And if you understand that, you're already thinking differently than most people. So if you want to keep learning how these systems actually work, and not just follow surface-level advice that keeps people stuck, make sure you subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is about.